here we are. We're at the National Snow Show, pardon me, and with Dan Egan. So welcome, thank you very much. So we're going to chat about his new book in a second. But beforehand, you've done a plethora of films, 14 Warren Miller films, and some other great things. And kind of one of the original extreme skiers. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, back with one-piece suits, day glow, big hair and hairbands. That's what it was all about.
But what's interesting is obviously your book here, which we're going to chat about in a second here. One of the things we were saying is that you're probably a bit of a pioneer, not only on the slopes, but in terms of making the role of being an extreme athlete a bit more of a business. So maybe you can chat to people and tell everybody how you kind of came to that.
Yeah, well, the whole idea was we wanted to ski powder, right? And
who does it?
Yeah, wanted to ski all around the world. We had to figure out how to make that work. Yeah. So my brother and I, skiing as the Egan Brothers, we looked alike. We could ski close. We knew what each other was going to do, and it sort of led to this idea that we became the all-terrain skiing vehicles of the '80s. And my brother had always made me finish university. He's like, you got to go back. And then once we did, he drove me to the industry ski show, the SIA show in Vegas. He said, now you went to that college, get in there and make us some damn money. And so I had set up meetings with ski companies that were in and around Boston, because I had worked at the ski market, which was the biggest retailer in America. And I knew some people at these companies. And so I came out. He goes, how'd it go? I go, good, yeah, we got contracts. Contracts? Yeah, money, cash. What'd you tell him? I told him we're the Egan Brothers and we're going to travel around the world and make ski movies. He goes, tell the next guy that. And that's kind of how it went. John was a great entertainer, still is, very funny guy. And he would make people laugh, and I'd be in the back room scrambling deals together. But really, what I saw was the technology that made my career was the VCR and the VHS tape.
For kids who don't know what those are,
well, it was the YouTube of our day.
Yeah.
And the fact that these cassette tapes would go into people's homes and live on shelves for 10 plus years in ski chalets, condominiums, hotels, après ski bars, ski shops. And back in the 80s, there was a video store in every corner. And I would get all the addresses for these video stores and convince the producers of the movies that I should be their sales representative. And I would sell videos out of my mom's attic. And I was shipping videos all over the world.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. And I say probably one of the biggest claim to fame not the biggest claim to fame, probably one of the most popular. Did a lot of work with Warren Miller.
Yep.
And so 14 films.
Yeah.
And the thing that I love you mentioned was that you're one of the first people that you owned the rights to your footage.
Yes.
Which beforehand you said it was like a lunch. Lunch and a lift ticket. That was kind of it.
Yeah. So, the joke was Warren would gladly pay you a hamburger on Tuesday for a ski turn today. And Warren and I had a great relationship, and he had always wanted somebody to make a movie out of his outtakes, because for every 25 minutes of film they shoot, they only used 1 minute.
Wow.
So 24 minutes of every location that wasn't being used. So I made a movie out of his outtakes, and he loved it. And then he goes, all right, now let's narrate it. So he taught me how to narrate. And then he really took his time with me and showed me the business. And Warren appreciated people who were bold. Gary Nate, the famous Warren Miller cameraman, how he got his first job with Warren was he waited outside a theater till the movie was over and Warren was coming down the stairs. And Gary said to Warren, you can hire me or compete against me. What do you want to do?
Oh, wow.
And Warren hired him. And with me, I think it was the same way. Because I said, Warren, I think I should own my own footage in the movie. And he goes, well, how would that work? And I had an answer for him. So I think he appreciated the boldness. It reminded him of himself. And we became great friends, and he was my business mentor for decades.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize he was your mentor as well. That's pretty darn cool.
Yeah.
I think one of the most fascinating, just thinking from a technology point of view. We're sitting here today, we're kind of chatting, there's obviously a camera and everything like that, but kind of say back in the day, I hate to use that terminology, but the technology was completely different. What was it like when you had like these massive camera setups, and I guess people would make skiing around with helmet cams and stuff like that? What was that like?
Yeah, I mean, people forget. Yeah, we were shooting on 16 millimeter wind-up Bolex cameras.
An actual film.
After film.
Yeah.
And that film had to be changed in a dark bag.
Okay.
You know, in the mountains somewhere, the Arctic, wherever we were. The cameraman would have to take their gloves off, go inside the bag, not being able to see in the bag, take the camera apart, take the film out of the camera and put a new roll in without exposing either the new roll or the shot roll. And a roll of film was only 3 minutes long. So, you know, you kind of were always in your head, how long has he been shooting for? Because the worst thing would be if he ran out of film halfway down your run.
Yeah.
And so the cameramen generally were really good at shooting scenics at the end of the roll.
Yeah.
If they thought the roll was out, they'd just point it and you go, okay, he's about to change rolls.
Okay.
Well, of course, but that took time.
Yeah.
So it was a very slow process, way different than today.
Wow. So we'll get to that in a second. But what's your thoughts on some of, let's say, current ski films?
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's obviously an era. We talk about an early era, where it's the romance of of the ski films, everything like that, and then there's probably an extreme era where and probably extreme athletes such as yourself doing some pretty crazy things, and then it's almost a stage now where almost seeing behind the scenes. I think there's a hunger for people to see, oh yeah, it took them, that one landing was great, but to your point, 3 minutes of film, there's bound to be 20 other takes. Right. What's your take on the current way of films are and the current structure of films?
The story is still king.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And people are interested in the story.
Yeah.
The first real music videos that we made in the 80s, where there was just music and skiing, no narration, those were the North Face films, Extreme Skiing 1, 2, and 3. We didn't even put athletes interview until Extreme Skiing 3.
Okay.
Warren Miller didn't even let the athletes talk until really the mid-90s.
Oh, really?
And really, what did we have to add? Our art was the athleticism.
Yeah.
But today, what I say to Teton Gravity and Matchstick and the big producers is I say, look, you have the biggest budgets. You go to the best locations. You have the best cameramen, and you have these amazing athletes. Yeah. Your edit is lazy. Anybody can string rushes together. Anybody can go one shot to a long shot to another long shot. But you're not telling me who these guys are. You're not bringing me to the location. I'm learning nothing from this. And I can't do what they're doing. I'm a pro skier and I wouldn't flip and twist 12 times, you know what I mean? So I need to know more. Does it take a lot of speed to pull off the jump? Why do they grab? Does that help with the spin?
Yeah.
How did they get to where they were? When we traveled to Yugoslavia, went to the Berlin Wall, skied with the Kurds in the first Persian Gulf War, snuck into Beirut, Lebanon. When we did these things, it was a travel log. We showed you the photographs and the still photos and the town and the people, and the people took interest in this, and of course, great skiing. Yeah. But the behind the scenes today, everything's so instant, and what we see from that, I think the result of that is sort of a lack of interest.
Oh yeah.
And it's happening so fast.
It's almost I would say it's almost become passive, a very passive thing. It's like, oh yes, it's another film, as opposed to using it as an art form itself.
That's it. Yeah. That's right.
So speaking of story, what a segue. You've obviously got this book out, which is obviously 30 years in White Haze. And so, talk us through this story here.
Well, 30 years in a White Haze really is my ski story from the city of Boston on the east coast of the U.S. all the way to the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame with my brother John. Cool. It's a family story. We're 6 years apart. There were 8 kids in the family. And we grew up in different times and different eras, but we were best friends and we loved to ski together. But 30 years ago, I was lost in a mountain storm in Russia on Mount Elbrus. And the storm killed 15 people. And I survived 38 hours. And a Russian found my snow cave at 17,000 feet and saved my life. And the next day, we rescued 14 people.
wow.
And I had never really written about that story. My family history is that my grandfather's house was the highest house in the city of Boston.
Really?
And in the 1950s, my mom and her brothers, my uncles, skied down the medium strip of the road with one pair of skis and leather boots. And my mom was a gym teacher, and she taught me all my sports. So it wasn't like we were a mountain family. We didn't own a house up in the ski country.
Yeah.
We were athletes who loved to ski, and it sort of evolved over time. And so the story kind of looks into all of that. It tackles the Mount Elbrus. A lot of people don't realize that Mount Elbrus, one of the 7 summits of the world, kills more people every year than Everest.
Really? I didn't know that.
And the way it's positioned with near the ocean, and the wind and the storms that blow in are brutal.
And was that were you there, I'm going to say personally, were you there as to adventure for yourself? Were you there on a filming thing? Was it a ski adventure? What was it?
Yeah, we were there for the company Degree 7, Patrick Valençant's company. And Patrick Valençant, the godfather of extreme skiing, was one of my brother's ski heroes, and Patrick had died. And we were sponsored by Degree 7. And we wanted to celebrate Patrick's life, so they brought the Chamonix mountain guides and the young upstarts from America to Russia to climb and ski one of the 7 summits of the world. And it was a trip that all went wrong. It's still the Cold War in 1990. It's still perestroika. Russia wasn't a place where you could find a lot of food, or we weren't well prepared up on the hill. But more than that, I was a young 20-year-old. And I always say my 20-year-old self would make the same decisions today. My brother was 6 years older, a little wiser. He didn't go to the summit. I did, and that's why I got lost.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And I mean, when you fast forward to today, obviously you're doing lots of different things. Obviously, your book, which we're talking about today, I mean, that's available in terms of Amazon. It's available online and like that. But you also do other things today. You also do tours, do talks, something like that. And we were having a conversation beforehand about Switzerland. That's kind of your, I wouldn't say your base, but that's talk us through that.
You know, I've always loved skiing in Europe. It's awesome. We shot a lot of our movies in Europe. And skiclinics.com is my company. I've been taking people traveling around the world since the 90s. And this year I'll be in Zermatt, I'll be in Engelberg, I'll be in Lax.
You're going to go ski at the Eiger, is it?
The Eiger in Zermatt. They love that, by the way. The beautiful Matterhorn, of course. And in the spring every year, I'm in Val d'Isère. So I spend all of April every year in Val d'Isère.
So I'm curious to find out then, skiing around the world, what would be, so would you say Zermatt's your favorite resort?
For me, it's really interesting. Val d'Isère, I have a lot of community there. I've been going there for 30 plus years. And Chamonix, of course. I don't know which is more scenic, the Aiguille de Midi and the Mur de Glace, or the beautiful big Matterhorn. It's unbelievable, right? But for me, sort of the ski tribe of people and community is what it's all about. So I love going to these resorts, but in Val d'Isère, I just have so many friends.
And for people who've never perhaps traveled, so let's assume the people who are watching this are perhaps in Europe. How would you describe North American skiing compared to European skiing, and then either vice versa? Yeah,
it's really interesting. People always say, "Why do you go to Europe when you have the North America?" My winter home is Big Sky, Montana. I love it. It's fantastic. Lone Peak is really probably the closest you get to European skiing, where the lift goes right to the top, right to the tippity top. Only 15 people, so your descent is great. You ski alone in the powder, and we have the big couloir and all that sort of thing. It's great. Europe has a culture of alpinism. It has traditions and food and beautiful restaurants and chalets. You ski the glacier down to the hut, and have a proper lunch. And it's really, we can't duplicate that back home. What Americans do and what we do in North America is service. We're friendly. Our lift lines are organized. Our pistes are perfectly groomed. Our snowmaking is amazing. Our skiing is phenomenal, and our snow is great.
It's a different experience.
It's a different experience. The culture of Europe really is what I like, and I find my clients love it too. But they're very different. The one thing people always ask me, like, where's your favorite place to ski? And I'm the type of kid, like, I love to ski.
Yeah, as long as I'm skiing, I'm happy.
I'm just happy. I look down, my feet are on snow, it's all good, you know? But then, of course, the scenery just adds to everything. Yeah.
So, you've obviously been very successful in terms of your film career. You've also done lots of your writing and your trips and everything like that. Do you see yourself as a businessman who's a skier, or a skier who is a businessman?
Well, you know, at heart, I'm a ski bum.
Okay.
I'm looking for a free lift ticket all the time, and that's really the goal of it all. But you know, it's interesting, blind ambition. You know, what you're willing to do to achieve through passion.
Yeah.
And I've always been sort of a boundary tester. I want to go to the edge and look over.
Yeah.
And I did that in my ski career. I've done it in my business career. And what I find is, if you're willing to take things to the edge, the universe will catch you.
Yeah.
It will expand, and there'll be greater opportunity there. Stuff you maybe even haven't thought of yet. This idea of attaching yourself to something bigger than you.
Yeah.
You know, that's what Warren showed me. And when we were together, Warren and I told him, look, I want to go all over the world, Warren, wherever CNN is. He loved that idea. You know, people were interested in why we would go to the Berlin Wall, you know, and the audience grew. And I think that's a good sort of metaphor for business. How do you attach your business to something bigger? You know, the internet has done that in so many ways. Amazon for books, and you know, the biggest retailer in the world. All these sorts of things are fascinating to me. So I think always willing to expand. And you know, the book has my failures. You know, you get to the edge, sometimes you fall off. My television show, Dan Egan's Wild World of Winter, was on for 12 years. And I never really thought that TV would live on the internet. I missed that. I stayed on TV too long. And a lot of my competition went to the internet. And all of a sudden I found nobody was watching my TV show. You know, I had been on the forefront of VHS, the forefront of DVD, the forefront of cable television, and completely missed YouTube. So sometimes you can be on the edge, and the edge shifts. So it's a fascinating idea.
Two last questions for you.
Sure.
One is, what would you like your legacy to be?
You know, really the joy of skiing and spreading that. I love skiing with people. I love changing how people change their paradigm of the slope. Making people comfortable with acceleration. And really expanding their experience there. At the Dan Egan steep camps that I teach at Big Sky and around the world, what we work on is how to sort of reach your purpose. Some people want to keep up with their kids. Some people want to go heli skiing. Some people want to go to Europe. I don't teach people how to ski. I teach them how to achieve their purpose.
That's good. I like that.
You're right? It's a different thing. There's 100 different ways to make a ski turn. Just ask an instructor. Right? But where do they want to make that turn? That's really the question. And this idea that we're not thinking machines that feel. We're feeling machines that think. So I teach and persuade through emotion, not logic.
I like that. So cool. Well, if people want to find out more about you, they want to find out more about the book, how do they find out about you? You
can go to dan-egan.com.
Cool. And the book?
The book, white-haze.com. Cool. And just Google Dan Egan White Haze.
Brilliant. And it'll be out for Christmas?
It's out right now with a special edition hardcover for the holidays. It's got a lot of pictures in it because, you know, not everybody wants to read. They want to look at the photos. And it's got the worldwide map of everywhere we went around the world.
I like that. That's brilliant. Cool. Well, thank you so much for your time today.
It was awesome.
Really appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
Best of luck with the book.
Thanks.
And safety out there on the slopes.
Absolutely. See you on the hill.
Cheers.